welcome to one more DYP episode. And this time I have someone really, really pretty. She's beautiful. Her name is Monique, and we just met online out of the blue. She just got in touch with me and she said, I really want to talk passionately about this whole thing of digital marketing. And she comes from Florida. Okay, so we are, how this whole lockdown has actually helped us in many ways, wherein we get connected digitally and we actually meet people. And she's like, we have barely met for, I don't know, few days. It's just been
Right. A few days, a few weeks ago, we just
yeah,
met.
it's just been 2 weeks and we are already hit it off, and now we are just on this interview together. Okay, so she's very, very good with digital marketing. She's actually the founder of Dragon Digital Marketing. And why the name? A little background checkup, wherein she says that she loves dragons and digital. Okay, which is something that I found really, really cool. So I said, why not? I just bring this up in our talk today. And she's also very passionate about helping small businesses actually go ahead in building their digital footprint and also build that whole brand to a whole new level when it comes to actually making an impact, right? So that's what she's all about, and that's why I wanted to interview her. I wanted to get to know more about her, because she's also a fellow passionate entrepreneur just like me. And I just thought, why not we just see the perspective from people who are not in our country. We wanted to just see what is the other side of the world actually thinking about this. So Monique is going to help us with that, and she's also going to share her story. So welcome on board, Monique, and it's nice to have you here. And I would like to understand your story. First things first, how did you start? What got you to do this? And what made you help small businesses grow?
Hi, guys. I'm Monique from Dragon
Hello.
Digital Marketing. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Diya, and I'm happy to bring a fresh and new perspective onto your audience and your podcast listeners. So I started Dragon Digital Marketing a year ago. And the name dragon, like you already said, you've done your research. I like dragons. I think they're super fascinating and cute, and it's just something that I'm passionate about, as well as the digital aspect. So I like technology. I like, new gadgets and stuff like that to play around with. I like tools. I like software. I like coding. I'm a web developer as well. So that's how I also kind of got into like the whole digital marketing thing. And so I started my own agency, and I thought Dragon Digital Marketing would be a nice name that like brings it all together, everything that I like and everything that I'm all about. So really my focus is on helping small businesses grow. Small businesses that want to scale, that want to grow, that don't want to stay small businesses forever. I help them out and help them to come up with a great strategy that allows them to scale, that is really long-term oriented and just well thought out. And I make sure that everything is on brand, help them build a brand, because brands are so important nowadays. They're more important than ever, especially in situations like COVID or like crises in general.
Right,
People tend to rely on what they know, what they get, and they can trust in that. That's what people rely on in situations like that. So people are less likely to experiment with things they don't know anything about and try out new things that they've never heard of that brand or that product or what it does or what it stands for or what it means. So branding is more important than ever now, actually. So yeah.
nice.
You wouldn't necessarily think that if you wouldn't know.
Yes, of course. I mean, definitely. That's the thing. And nowadays, because of this whole crisis, a lot of people need a particular plan, which actually allows them to go ahead and build a business online, right? So great. That's awesome. So when we talk about actually these small business owners and the basically the small businesses, what should a typical entrepreneur be doing when it comes to actually building a game plan? Now that you said that they have to be crisis proof, they have to work with what the whole surroundings are, and how do you move in that direction? So what is your take in the game plan? Like, what should be their game plan?
Okay, exactly. So it has multiple levels to it. And on a top level, it's about the brand. The brand is at the top, and the brand is just how you want to be seen, what you do in the world, what inspires you, what are your aspirations, what do you stand for, what's your value, what makes you unique, what makes you stand out, what's the whole personality of your business, and how can people like recognize you. You have a recognizable logo, you have brand colors, you have your own fonts, your brand typography, right? The imagery and everything like that, that's just consistent, that people can recognize, and you communicate that consistently over time until it matches reality and people just get your message, and then you find your fans, you find your tribe, and yeah, your brand evangelist. So that's the whole goal. That's a long-term thing with the branding. And then your marketing strategy has to align with your brand and your branding strategy. So that all goes hand in hand. You want to market yourself and be conscious of how you want to be seen in the world and how others will view you. So you can't do like spammy marketing techniques if you want to be like a high-end brand, for example, and your aim is to become a vanguard and dominate the world or your industry in whatever it is that you do. So it all has to be on brand and has to be consistent with your brand values and your brand story and your brand personality and so on. So that's important. And then on a level below that, so first your brand, right? Your brand strategy, then your marketing strategy. And then underneath that, there's your marketing channels. So that's how your overall strategy applies to the different channels like email, like social media, like your website, and so on. So those are all different channels. And I make sure all of that is just aligned with each other and goes hand in hand. And you can really grow and scale your small business over time. And your business doesn't stay small forever. And it's just well thought out and incorporates every aspect of that. So that's what I do. That's what I'm passionate about. And that's how that all goes together with like marketing, digital marketing, and branding, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. So you're saying that this is pretty much like a hierarchy. It's like it starts from, you know, the ground level and goes up. That's what you're saying, right? That's
it starts from the top. So it's like a top-down approach. You start with the brand. You start with the general overall aim that you have, your aspiration. That can be very vague, you know, just what drives you, what caused you to actually start your business and start your brand. What's your story? What's your motivation? What are your higher values that you want to achieve and what you want to stand for? That's what you begin with. So you begin with the tip of the pyramid, if you want to see it like a pyramid, and then you work yourself down to the bottom. So the brand, is what everything has to be aligned with. It's the value. That's, for example, when you go to Starbucks, it's not just the coffee, but it's that, you know, feeling. That's the brand. That's what the brand does, right? Or if you, I don't know, like Apple products, is more than just a regular laptop or a regular phone. You get that feeling of belonging to that group, that sophistication, and that's what the brand does. So yeah, the brand is first.
So actually, even in India, when we do it this way, we go ground up. We start with the brand as the ground part, and then we move on to the marketing strategy. So I think either way it works.
So you just flip it, so it works either way. Yeah, it works either way.
Because to some extent, what happens is that when you are like, you know, because it's also the way people see it. It's a perspective in the end, right? So a lot of people would say, okay, you know, if I have to start, my first thing is ground level, which means branding. And then I have to go to the next and then to the next. But actually, logically speaking, it's the same thing. It's just that it's the other way around.
Right.
That, you know,
so interesting.
And you go down.
We came together and like talk about our different points of view. So yeah, it's the same thing. Of course, you can start with the brand like a foundation, and then see your marketing as levels on top of that.
Really nice. That's really cool. I mean, the two perspectives. That's amazing.
Yeah, loving that.
That actually got us to, you know, do this whole thing of connecting Florida and India, like USA
India.
and India.
That's right.
Great, awesome. So if you were to give advice, okay, to a business owner or an entrepreneur starting something new, they're just starting out, Okay. I know you spoke about the plan and everything, but what would it be? What would that particular advice be for people who are just starting out? Because now, see, there are a lot of people who are already seasoned business owners who have done it, been there, done that. So they know they're big, though they have certain aspects which they probably have to work on. Probably their marketing strategy has to change, or their maybe the way they approach their business has to change. But what about those people who are just starting out? Because during this entire COVID and this whole thing that's happening, a lot of people are starting new things. Suddenly you see that there are people at home, they're just starting new brands. Overnight, they just want to do something else. So what is your advice for them?
Yes. So first of all, congratulations. You're amazing and you're doing it right. This is the time to start something. So first of all, that's what I need to say. Congratulations on that. Yeah, and my advice would really be to start with the strategy. So you always have a reference point that guides you in everything else that you do. So all of your other efforts, all of your other ideas that you have, or what you could do, because there are so many possibilities out there, right? You can do a million things, but doesn't make sense to do like all of those things, especially all at once. No, absolutely not. So you need to have that reference point, which will be your strategy. And you really need to have this down. And then you build on top of that and you reference your strategy for everything else that you do. So let's talk about branding. Your brand, you start with a brand strategy. Start with what makes you unique. Start with your unique selling proposition, your unique value proposition, your brand positioning, right? Your whole theme, the moral theme about your brand, right? Start with that. And then you can think about, things like, how am I going to name my brand name, or what's my logo going to look like? What is my tagline or slogan going to be like? What colors am I going to use or choose? What fonts, what typography, what images, whatever. That's the thing that most people think about first. They think about the visual elements first, like that. And that's also like a huge misconception that people think that is the branding, or that's the brand, like a logo, a letterhead.
Yeah,
the brand would be.
I completely agree with this.
Yeah, it's so important to know and not to mistake. Those are just visual elements that people can see, but they're like the tip of the iceberg. The majority of the iceberg is underwater. It's under the water level. You can
Exactly.
see.
I tell this to a lot of my clients as well, that you need to first focus on what is the value that you're giving, what is the USP, what are all those aspects, and then you talk about the visual aspect. But then a lot of people confuse branding and how to actually build your individual brand. Like there are two different things to it, right?
Exactly.
Good point. I mean, especially for the new people, because you know what, the typical thing that people think of first when they say, okay, today I'm going to start making cakes. Okay. And when they say start making cakes, what should I name my brand is the next thing. And then straight away they go on to saying, okay, who's going to design my logo? Right. So it's just that nobody has thought of, okay, so I'm going to make cakes. That's my passion. But what are my values? What is my main focus? What am I going to be doing? All this. And then I can think of the logo. So yes, I completely agree with you that, you need to work with the background first before you can move on to the foreground of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And then everything will kind of fall into place automatically if you're super clear about where you are right now, your status quo, where you're going, like where you want to be, and then also what will get you there, what actions you will take, the actual plan of action. That's the definition of a strategy. A strategy is a plan of action. Then it will just fall into place, and you're just going to come up with a name because it just makes sense. And you're going to come up with the right visual elements and the right verbal elements, what language you should use. If you are super sophisticated and conservative, or more casual and young and dynamic, and then also with your logo, with how you should name your brand, all of that, it will just fall into place if you have your strategy.
Yes, that is so, I mean, it's actually a no-brainer when you think about it. It's just, people, like, you just need to close your eyes and think of that. That's like just the strategy. Think of how are you going to go from 0.0 to 0.5. It's literally like that. So yes, I completely agree with you in terms of building your brand online and going digital and building your digital aspect. Now, talking about this whole thing of focusing on strategy, this is a question with relevance to your answer. So I would like to know that what is your take on multitasking? Like, how should people like do many things when you're building a brand and a business? Or do you feel that okay, if you're focusing on a strategy, what is it that I need to do? Do I need to multitask with so many aspects, or do I just stick around with one thing? What is
That's
your
a
take on
great
that?
question. You definitely have to multitask. You can't focus on doing one thing at a time because
Yes.
everything goes hand in hand, and it's not, you can't look at the different things that you do and what it requires to build a great brand and really stand out from your competition. You can't look at it as like one silo and then there's another silo and then there's another silo, and it's all, separated and apart from each other. So it all goes hand in hand, and it is very intertwined and interdependent. So you have to build everything at once, and you have to look at it as like a whole system. You have different processes, and then it goes from one, gradually it moves from one process to the next process to the next process, which will then build your whole system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to know how things go hand in hand.
Yes.
From process to process. It's just, you have to do everything at the same time to see how it goes hand in hand and how it works with each other. This doesn't mean that you have to do everything alone. Of course not. You can build a team. You don't have to do this all alone, but you have to see how things go and how things work. That's important. So
And I
you
also feel that
multitask to a certain degree. Yes.
yes, yes. And I also feel that it also depends on what level you are at. It also, like, now in the beginner level, of course, you're going to have much more work to do. But as and when you grow and you build your brand to some extent, like to a certain extent, even when you reach like the mid level, right?
Mhm.
You still don't have that much work as you had when you first started, right? Because
Exactly, because you already figured out what works for you
yes,
and what doesn't, and then
yes,
it's more like tweaking and analyzing and just
true,
improving
very
the
true.
solid foundation that you have,
Yes.
and not as much anymore. It's more maintenance and just tweaking.
And isn't it true that you need to focus on your skill and passion in the end? Isn't that what you have to focus on? Because that's what people are paying you for. So it's not necessarily that you have to have, constantly be like, as you said, you have to build a team so that when you build a team, people will focus, like the business owner can focus on what he or she is, good at, like the passion and the skill. So great. Okay, so share 5 tips or tricks or tools that are very much needed for a small business to survive in a fast growing environment like digital. Okay, so let it not be too overwhelming. Like, if you can just
Yes.
pick something that is very simple, because my audience usually believes in simplicity and they really want things that are not like, okay, this makes too much of sense, makes too much of, takes too much of time. So I don't want that. I want something that is, focused on those five tools. So can you
Yeah,
please share that
that's
with
super
us?
simple. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm also all about simplicity. Do what you need and master it, and really leverage that, and make sure you understand it first until you move on to the next best thing.
Good.
And you also don't need like the most fancy tools. Only upgrade if you've really outgrown your old tool and it just doesn't offer you all of the features that you need anymore. That makes sense for you. So you start simple. The first thing that you would need is a website nowadays, right? That's kind of a no-brainer, but
Yes.
really as a small business, you need a website. It can be a simple website, it can be a one-page website, but that's how your online presence starts. Your website is something that you're in control of. It's your website, you own it, you have it on your own server, ideally. Um, that's why it's so important, because it's something that you have and it's your own. Your Facebook page, you don't own it. Facebook owns it. Your Instagram account, you also don't own that. Instagram owns it. If Instagram goes down and you lose your entire audience and all of your fans and followers, and you haven't, you don't have a place where you can capture their information, their names, their email address, so you can still reach them and communicate to them independent from third-party platforms, spot. So yeah, you want to have your own thing. So having a website is really crucial and like a basic thing that you should have for, yeah, to begin with, to start when it comes to having an online presence. Another thing that I would say is really, really important is a Google My Business. A Google My Business profile. Google is just the most used search engine in the world. It has, you know, a majority of the market share. And most people Google things when they search for something. And people search for everything on Google. And there are thousands and thousands of people who search for exactly what you offer, what your business offers. And people search for the solutions that you can give them, that you can bring to them to help them overcome their challenges and solve their problems. So it's definitely beneficial to be there, to be able to be found in Google. You can also optimize your website for that, obviously, and do SEO. And having a Google My Business listing and listings in other business directories as well is a great start. It's simple. You just fill out your information and sign up, and you've already expanded your online presence, and, you know, made a step in the right direction when it comes to that. And that's like super simple, basic beginner things that everybody can do, and it's free for the most part.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. Because nowadays what is happening is with a lot of these tools, there's so much happening on the internet. Like, you know, you can download this, download that, use this, use that, try this. So, you know, there are so many things which people are actually more than, you know, starting something, they're taking the back seat. You know, they're saying that, okay, now I don't think I can go forward in this because there's so much to do. Right. So that's why I was particular about the simple aspect of it, because you know,
Right.
we need to tell, we both are into branding, we are both into digital. We need to tell people that it is not difficult. It's something that can be done. It's something that, of course, everything, when you create something with passion. You create something because you want to serve people, you want to help people in a certain way, right? So you have to break away from those few barriers that would actually get you to achieve your goal, right? So if you actually break those barriers and you say, okay, you know, I can use this, I'll make it work for me. So when they make it work for themselves, it becomes a lot more easier for them to accept the fact that going digital is powerful, right? So that's awesome. So here's the thing with for my viewers, okay? So what I want you to really ponder about, okay? So what is it that you really want to focus on when it comes to going digital? Now, when we had this discussion on how to, you know, go and take your tools further, how to take your branding further, and even Monique spoke about the whole strategy that you have to go in and the whole direction that you have to go in. So if you are either starting out or you just want to do something differently in your current business, right? You want to go online, or you want to just, you know, take that really big step and go online and, you know, show people that this is what you do. So what is it that you want to focus on when it comes to simplifying your presence online? All right. So this is a question that you need to ponder about, and you need to talk about it. And if you want, you can even share it in the comments below. We are going to be doing this on YouTube, so you can share this on the comments below. Okay.
Yes.
So yes, moving on to Monique. So now, where can people actually find you? Like, do help us with that.
Yeah, people can find me on my website. That's dragon-digital-marketing.com. I'm also on YouTube and have a YouTube channel that's called Dragon Digital Marketing. I have a blog, the Dragon Digital Marketing blog. I also have my own podcast where I talk about all things digital marketing for small businesses. That's called the Dragon Digital Marketing Podcast. You can find all of that on my website. I'm on Twitter too. I'm on Facebook too. So
I think
yeah,
she's
find me.
everywhere, so you can just go find her. No, so I've actually heard her podcast. It's really amazing. Please go listen to it. She's doing really well for herself when it comes to, you know, podcasting and all that. And the kind of material she shares is really nice. It'll really help anybody at any level. So I would really like it that, you know, you take this opportunity to learn from her as well. And if you have any questions with regards to getting online, right? And even if you're a small business or you're just starting out, you don't have any team, right? I would really like you to ask your questions below this video, and, you know, so that either Monique or me will be able to, you know, reply to you anytime, it'll be on my channel, and it will also be on my podcast. So you can actually go and check us out and have a look at what we do. And I'm also sharing Monique's profiles over here. Just below the description, I'll be sharing Monique's profile. So you can also go and have a look at her work, get in touch with her if you want to really build your online presence the digital dragon way. Then, you can take things forward from there. Okay, so to wrap things up, I would like to conclude by thanking you all for listening to us. I thank Monique for actually sharing her knowledge with us, making it so simplified, talking about the strategies, going head on into understanding how to build your presence online, and also giving us a heads up on how she has taken it forward and how she has actually built her story around it. Thank you so much, Monique. It was really great actually having this conversation with you. I really wish you all the best. And yes, let's stay in touch. And of course, this is going to be online, so you guys can, access this video anytime. And yes, I would like to end this. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Bye bye.